This is going to be a story about myself when I was a kid. But you have to understand the kind of kid I was. I was a kid who would become attached to some simple thing and never want to get rid of it. I would never want to trade it for anything else. It could be a hat that fit me just the way I liked it. It could be a t-shirt that I would wear until it fell into pieces on my back. It could even be a pencil. In fact, when I was in elementary school, I had one pencil that had bright colored stripes spiraling around it, and it had silver sparkles mixed in with the colored stripes. And it had an electric orange eraser. I loved that pencil. I used it every day. I sharpened it again and again. It got so small that one day my teacher said to me, "If you sharpen that pencil one more time, it's going to make invisible writing." She was right. I sharpened it one more time, and there was no lead left in the pencil to make a mark with. One time I had a pair of jeans that got so full of holes, my friends called them my Swiss cheese pants. You think I threw them away? No. I didn't throw them away until my mom showed me they were beginning to get a new hole in a very embarrassing place. But I think the things I loved the most when I was a kid was a pair of black and white sneakers. Ooh, they were high-top sneakers. They were black, but they had a white stripe kind of curling up on the outside of each shoe and another white stripe curving up on the inside of each shoe. I wore those black and white sneakers to school every day. I wore them to play in after school. I wore them on the weekends. I wore them to baseball games. I wore them to birthday parties. I probably would have worn them to bed if my mother would have let me. The more I wore them, the better they felt on my feet. Have you ever had a pair of sneakers that really felt good on your feet? If you have, you know what I'm talking about. But by the end of the school year, those black and white sneakers were so beat up. The laces had been broken and tied back together again in about 25 places. One of them had a big hole in the bottom of it. The sides were all raggedy and frayed. But do you think I threw them away? No. I wore them in the summertime too. Now, in the summer when I was a kid, I would wake up each morning, jump right back into the same clothes I had been wearing the day before, pull on my trusty black and white sneakers, go find my best friend Billy Guerra, and we would spend the whole day running around out in the desert. Well, when you run around out in the desert all day long, you do sweat a lot. Your feet really sweat a lot. My black and white sneakers started getting pretty whiffy. And then to make matters worse, one time we were running across a pasture and I stepped right in a cow pie. In case you think a cow pie is a pie that you feed to a cow, it's not. It's something that comes out the other end of a cow. And then another time we were down by the river and I stepped in some nasty smelling mud. When I got home that day, my mom met me at the door. She said, "You're not coming into the house with those shoes on." She made me take off my sneakers and leave them outside on the step. My shoes were banned from the house. You think I threw them away? Of course not. My mom even went down to the store and bought another pair of black and white sneakers. They were the same brand, the same size, the same model as the ones I love so much, but I wouldn't even try them on. I knew they wouldn't feel anywhere near as good on my feet. I did not realize just how bad my sneakers were smelling until one night when my friend and I decided to camp out for the night. We had been down by the river and we noticed a big spreading cottonwood tree with grass growing under it. And we could see a circle of rocks where someone had built a campfire. It looked like a perfect campsite. So we decided to ask our moms if we could spend a night down there. We went home and asked for permission, and our mom said we could camp out for one night. So we loaded up a pack with our sleeping bags and a tent. We put a can of baked beans in the pack and some hot dogs. I stuck a flashlight in the pack. We headed down to the river. Well, we set up the tent and spread out our sleeping bags. We built a nice little campfire. We heated up the baked beans and cooked the hot dogs. We had a delicious supper. And then we sat there poking the ashes with sticks for a while until we were feeling sleepy. We poured water on the fire and we went over to the tent to sleep. I was already used to leaving my sneakers outside, so I took them off and left them outside the flap of the tent. We climbed into our sleeping bags and we were so tired we fell asleep right away. But I woke up in the middle of the night because I could hear a sound over by the circle of rocks where we had made our fire. I felt around on the floor of the tent. I found the flashlight and I shined it over there. I saw two bright specks of light shining back at me. I knew that must be the eyes of some animal. I moved the flashlight around and I could make out the chubby little shape of a skunk. And just about the time I identified the skunk, it lost interest in whatever it was investigating over by the campfire, and it started walking right toward the door of our tent. I shook my friend and woke him up. We watched as the skunk got closer, and then just when it arrived at the door of our tent, it turned around. Its tail was pointing right at us. We were too scared to move. We felt like we were looking down the barrel of a shotgun. But then we realized what made that skunk turn around didn't have anything to do with us, because we saw that the skunk kind of sidled over to one of my black and white sneakers and started cuddling up against it. My friend said, "Oh my gosh, that skunk is falling in love with your stinky old shoes." It really was. It started purring like a kitten and snuggling and nuzzling with my shoes. And then I heard a different sound. I turned the flashlight over that way, and there was a second skunk. This skunk was huge. It was about as big as my grandma's Cocker Spaniel. And that big skunk came striding over there. It pushed the lovey-dovey little skunk out of the way, and then it bit the toe of one of my shoes. And then the big skunk turned around and it sprayed my sneakers. And then the big skunk gave the little skunk the meanest look you ever saw in your life, and it turned and walked away. The little skunk tagged along behind, looking very sheepish. And my friend said, "The big skunk must be the little skunk's boyfriend." I don't know if that was true or not, but I do know it smelled too bad in that tent for anybody to sleep there. We held our noses, we grabbed our sleeping bags and ran out of the tent. We got far enough away so we couldn't smell the skunk anymore, and we tried to get some sleep. We didn't sleep very much that night. And then the next morning, my black and white sneakers smelled so bad, not even I could put them on. I stayed there in my bare feet while my friend hiked the whole way back to my house and brought me the new pair of sneakers my mom had bought. I put on those new shoes, and then we packed up our tent and our sleeping bags. And as we were leaving the clearing, I turned and took one last sad look at my black and white sneakers. And then we went back home, and when we got to my house, my mom was so happy to see I had finally abandoned those smelly old shoes. She didn't even ask me why I had done it. Or maybe she didn't ask me because she knew that if she did, I would just make up some wild, unbelievable story about a lovesick skunk and her jealous boyfriend.